when you play with a smile on your lips. You feel a little bit
Hey everybody, welcome into Charlotte Soccer Show. John Hayes and my very, very good friend Danny Brams here on a special Monday evening live show. Crackers is here too. I see him back there hanging out with those trophies you got on that shelf there, Danny Brams.
At least someone in this club has some hardware. Fuck.
That's pretty good. Well done.
It's not about me, though.
No,
it's not about me.
I thought it was a really good move to do a show tonight. I thought we could get together and just kind of talk about what we saw on Sunday night against Minnesota United. We called this episode The Fortress Falls. Charlotte FC 0, Minnesota United 3. Of course, we're presented by HopFly Brewing Company. Had a fantastic pregame tailgate yesterday, Danny. The pregame show was phenomenal as well.
Yeah. Always good for a tipsy rant. You know, you got to love a good tipsy rant from old Danny B. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I didn't go far enough. Who knows? But, yeah.
Well, the show's up on YouTube. After you watch this show, you can go back and catch Danny's rant towards the end of our pregame show yesterday. I thought it was a really good rant and really well said on your part, Danny. I think we could get back into that a little bit tonight, on the show.
I mean, it played into what we saw on Sunday night, just at least a little bit psychologically, if nothing else.
So just briefly, of course, since we're presented by HopFly, I just wanted to share. I've been waiting all day for this. I had a Scottish ale in my fridge, just waiting for the start of this show, and it's here. It's the Wee Heavy from HopFly, and it is fantastic. Since the Scotsman Scotty Arfield couldn't play last night, a scratch in the warm-up.
His thigh was a wee bit heavy after the warm-ups for sure, and they didn't want to take the risk.
This is a wee bit heavy. The Scottish ale is fantastic.
He grabbed his hammy. Yeah,
7.5%, and it's going to be a great beer to drink during this show tonight.
I don't know if it's any better that I'm drinking coffee at 8 p.m., but yeah, I'm having a coffee, not a beer this time.
Yeah, coffee at 8 p.m. is not a good idea for me. I did have an afternoon coffee today, though, so I'm fired up for the show. I'm fired up to hear from everybody.
I'm essentially immune. Coffee's like water to me at this point. I mean, I'm immune to caffeine for sure.
I'm excited to hear from the Tifos as well, the tremendous friends of the show hanging out. I already see some of you in the chat. Matt L. He chimes in. He says, it's clear that when Malanda and Byrne are missing, the defensive organization goes right out the window. We need them back healthy as soon as possible. Matt Livingston, I wonder if this is the same commenter or just two different Matt L's.
I'd like to think it's two different, but
I think it's the same. We also need that top echelon attacking midfielder to knit play together. Diagre and Arfield aren't the answer. I don't think it's fair to come after Scotty after a match he didn't play in, when I thought that Scotty's been pretty strong at home in the side.
Yeah, I don't like criticizing a player who wasn't able to go. I think you like Scotty's contributions maybe a little more than I do. I do love Scotty as a human. Boom, I got the picture on my IG. Me and Scotty giving the salute at Bronny's party last year for sure. But I do sometimes wonder that Scott is kind of trying too hard sometimes when I see him out there. But regardless, it's better than some of what we see from Brechty sometimes. And I was big on Brecht in preseason. Shout out to Brian Marley. What's up, guys? That's all you needed to say. We saw you at the at walking around HopFly yesterday. That was good to see you. Rob Barnes, 5 goals against in 2 games. Need Malanda back now. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Dean said, hey, it was this. They asked Dean about, do you need Byrne and Malanda back, and he said today or after the game, he said, hey, it's the same team won last time. But it's the same team that conceded 2 to Toronto, without Insigne, one of the worst teams in the league, a team that we shut out minus Insigne's wonder strike when we did have Byrne and Malanda. So there's that. I think we need the guys back. What do you think?
Ultimately, I think Malanda being back in the side is a really good thing, right? I think he's somebody who has proven to be a really young and talented player for this squad. But do I think the drop off is so big that Charlotte FC should go from one of the best defensive teams in the league to giving up 5 goals? Right. Or six goals.
Great way to put it.
6 goals in 2 games, by the way. right? Isn't that what it is?
No,
I'm sorry. Yes,
3
5 goals.
Minnesota, 2 Toronto.
Yes,
Yeah.
5 goals and 2 games. Either way, my
Thank
point
God
is
it wasn't 6.
yes, yeah, you're right. It could have been 6.
I mean, it could have been 8. I mean, Toronto had some wide open misses. Kalina made a wonder save in the first 5 minutes yesterday. I mean, and Dean mentioned that as well today. Like, yes, we gave up the 3 goals and that I thought were bad goals, but we also they missed some wide open chances that we were lucky they didn't score. So he kind of threw it all out with the wash there.
Let me just get a quick take in on this question about Malanda and the defense, right? I think 2 things are happening, Danny. Is yes, Adilson Malanda is Charlotte FC's best center back, and the Malanda Privet pairing really helps this team. But now that we're as far into the season as we are, head coaches have tape on Charlotte FC's defense. Head coaches know exactly how this team is going to set up because Dean Smith has set up the exact same way every single match. So as the season rolls on and Dean Smith continues to play the same way, Danny, opposing coaches are going to see the tape and they're going to adjust. And that's clearly what Minnesota did on Sunday night at the Fortress.
Yeah, and I think you can also sort of, if I'm an opposing coach and I'm watching this team's tape, I'm thinking it doesn't really matter who the back line is because I can just overrun these guys right through route run, right up the middle of the midfield. As much as we all love Westwood and Diani, they're not exactly the stalwart, it's not exactly Nemanja Matic there, like running the show and shutting shit down or Rodri or Casemiro, it's like they do let guys, like they're sort of offensive minded 6s almost. And I know they do a lot of defensive work and Diani gets a lot of steals and Westwood gets some steals too. But I still felt, especially against Minnesota, they could just like come at us and run right over us and right through us. So then you got guys hitting, attacking the back line at full speed. And it's pretty tough to stop that.
Hey, let's listen to that Dean Smith bite about Diani because what you were just talking about, I think Dean Smith references this and what he wants from a player in that position.
Yeah, and we saw this is someone asked, why did Diani sub early, and this is why.
I just thought he looked leggy. I mean, he made 3 runs in the first half from the halfway line into their penalty box. That's not what I want my 6 to do, and I feel that we should have players further up the pitch, higher up the pitch, making them kind of runs. And, I just looked at the second goal, and his recovery run wasn't as it normally is. So I just felt it was worth getting Brams on to give us a bit more legs in there.
I think that's a really interesting comment, Danny, for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it's really the first time that Dean Smith has been critical of a player in a press conference following a match, specifically calling out runs and actions and movements that he's not truly a fan of. And he's getting into Diani's grill there saying, hey man, I'm not putting you in my squad to make runs forward into the box.
Right.
You're supposed to be joining the defense. You're supposed to be making it 5 at the back. And when you're not there, it's a problem. So for me, I think Dean kind of circled Diani as a big issue in this match.
Yeah, and he was asked directly, so it's not like he went out of his way to criticize Diani, but when he was asked a straightforward question, he gave a very straightforward answer, and I think that's good. It wasn't the best Diani. I also thought, if you watch if you look one video earlier than this one on our channel, subscribe to the YouTube ASAP if you haven't done so.
Is there a fresh episode of decoding?
I did a decoding. I did a fresh decoding. I got up at 7 this morning and popped a quick decoding in the feed. I hadn't listened to the comments, so I wanted to hear them. I was like, let's decode while we do it. And he was pretty. You heard what I said, which was maybe that there was some element of rest in there. He mentioned he looked leggy also, in addition to making bad runs. And we have the big fixture crunch coming up in May, so I do like the idea that maybe Dean is starting to look at some managing of minutes, which I think is really good. But I do think mostly it was those runs for sure. I want to show you, Johnny. You honored me with your praise. You said when I came up with the heat map graphic a few episodes ago, you said maybe the greatest graphic we've ever seen in the show. So I've tried to push it even further. When you achieve one level of success, you try to go even higher. So boom. How about a quad heat map graphic for the people presented by HopFly? And this is, you're going to see Enzo, Abada, Diani, and Diagra's maps. I didn't do Kerwin's because his pretty much looks like Enzo's basically. And We'll talk about Enzo's lack of movement in the box there in a second, but let's talk Diani first. And you can see, just look at those 3 runs that Dean mentioned. He's like, he made 3 runs down the left side into the box, and that wasn't happy. And you can see exactly what he's talking about.
You've done it again, Danny. You've outdid yourself with this graphic. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you come over to our YouTube page, subscribe there, and see this graphic that we're talking about. And Diani's contributions, I think if you take away, to Dean Smith's point, if you take away those touches and those runs down the left-hand wing, I think Diani's heat map looks totally fine. But for
maybe
me,
if it was a little more red, in some of those defensive areas on the right and on the middle. But yeah, I'm with you.
Right. I mean, the hottest part,
there is that bright red dot,
is where he should be, and so there.
So I want to see it like radiating out from that spot, not like a bunch of like different little spots, I guess. Yeah, but
right, totally. And this is a discussion that Dean needs to have with the new player. I think Jabril Diani is somebody that clearly likes to get forward if he's going on those runs and has to pick and choose his moments. Liel Abada, I think you look at Liel Abada's heat map here, Danny, and I think what you see is you see a player that did really well down the right-hand side, exactly what he's being asked to do. He's also the player that is taking corners from both sides of the field as well. What do you make about Abada taking the corners, Danny?
Well, it's great for me because corners are a great shortcut to fantasy points in all the fantasy games I play. So it's nice to always know who's playing, and love to see a DP in that role, because in real life, not fantasy, corner kicks are important. Minnesota scored off a set piece against us. We have yet to score directly off a set piece this season. Am I right? But I think we have one of our goals was the Westwood goal, at least if not others, was sort of off a secondary play off of a set piece. But yeah, set pieces are important. I don't think Liel's corners were all that great. He did get a lot of them, but man, I don't think they were all that great. There was, especially late, there was corner kicks directly into the keeper's hands. Definitely did not like that. But you can see that there's a bunch of them. I mean, when the bright red dot is in the corner like that, there's a bunch of them. Charlotte ended up, I believe, 11 corner kicks if you check the stats, but I never felt like even one of them was threatening.
You're right. It's 11 corner kicks on the nose, and I agree. It just not only just the corners, Danny, but in swinging balls, out swinging balls, any balls into the box seem like they're not happening, and you ask yourself why. And Enzo Copetti, his heat map, there is just absolutely nothing inside the box. He's not getting himself into the box. And it's a great call from Carol R. Walton, and that's what Danny, and for what it's worth, that's why Carol is here, and that's why she is on. As we appreciate you, Carol, being on the show tonight.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for the fact check. Always appreciated. It
was good to see Carol in the stadium yesterday. Funny story about that, if I could just,
of course,
just take the graphic down for a second, is we were walking to our seats, you and I moved my seats this season, and I've sat there 2 or 3 times already, but I just went to the wrong spot. I went to the wrong seats. I stopped short. I walked down the aisle and I said, hey, I think this is the aisle, and sat on the 2 seats in the 15th row that are the last 2 seats in the row. And I was looking around and I was like, I don't really recognize anybody but I don't know. Oh, there's Carol. I guess Carol sits up there. I haven't seen her yet. And a few minutes later, I realized I was talking to Danny Brackett, who was on the pregame show. And I said, hey, man, come down to the seats and hang out. And he goes, well, I went where you told me to go. And I said, well, I'm here. And
no, you're not.
Long story short, we were in the wrong seats. So we moved over, got into the seats. But
that's why we lost track of Carol. But it was good to see her. Yeah,
absolutely good to see her. But as far as the heat map is concerned,
the Tifos have some concerns on this heat map, and I'm sure you do as well, Johnny. This is not good.
Well, I think we're coming to the climax here as far as the take is concerned.
Yeah,
and Chief Kiefer is going to blow right through the orange light, and he's not worried about the stop sign. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, look what the Rev says. Enzo's reddest dot is the center circle. That's horrible.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where he's hanging out when Charlotte FC is pinned back on defense and waiting for a long ball. But Enzo's heat map and the lack of time spent in the box just goes to show you that there's no service and there's nobody to give service to anyway. So it's a failure in both categories.
I mean, that is just so embarrassing. And it's like when you tell me that Charlotte FC had 1 shot on goal in the first half, and it came from Bill Tuiloma, and they had 0 shots on goal in the second half. That was my advance warning that this Enzo heat map was coming, because that is just disgusting. I mean, it's horrible. As Chief Kiefer says, sickening, all caps. Like it's just like you can't get away from that. I want to hear from more tifos on this, because like for all the talk about what Enzo has done good and the contributions he's making and the runs in behind, and he's occupying both center backs, I don't see any occupation of any center backs going on here on this map necessarily, and I don't like it. I don't. It's not cool.
Okay.
What do you think, Johnny? What do the tifos think? What does anybody think?
Thank you for asking me this question, because I'm here on the show for a reason, and I'm here to cut right through and tell the people exactly what's going on when it comes to Enzo Copetti, right? And I've seen a lot of people backing Enzo Copetti. I've seen a lot of people saying that Enzo Copetti isn't the issue on this club, and for me, it comes down to being a fan, right? I think being a supporter is one of the most fun parts about rooting for a team, right? Is like you want to, and in soccer you call it supporter because you support the club in a way, you support the players, you try to help the player get the most out of himself,
right?
And I think supporters want that for Enzo, but what supporters aren't realizing is that now many games into Enzo's career here at Charlotte, the job is just not getting done. So while supporters continue to look forward and say, hey, Enzo could turn into something, he's doing good work, give him a chance, he's going to start scoring goals. I think what's failing to happen, Danny, is people aren't looking back and saying, well, there's a lot of minutes played, there's a lot of opportunities, and Enzo Copetti barely has any goals as Charlotte's number 9 designated player. So I think supporters are coming from the right place, Danny, when they support Enzo Copetti, because they want to see Enzo Copetti succeed, and they want to back their number 9 DP. But ultimately, the other side of that aisle is that Enzo Copetti hasn't gotten the job done, and why do you expect him to get the job done in the future? I don't.
Yeah, it's like seeing the same inputs and expecting different results is a pretty piss poor experiment for sure. I'm looking at Football Reference right now, and it's not worth popping up on the screen because there's just tons and tons of numbers. It's a big spreadsheet, but 6 goals for Charlotte now in 33 appearances, 28 starts. It's bad, 6 goals in 28 starts is pathetic. Abram Kuchecki points out, you got to do some serious mental gymnastics to still argue hard for Enzo score fucking goal. I mean, Abram, you're a man after my own heart, dude. It's time to start swearing like sailors and tell this guy how we feel. It's not personal. I want Enzo to succeed. When I love Enzo smiling, a smiling Enzo is a beautiful thing. He's vibrant, and he like lights up all the area around him when he smiles. But the problem is he's too often hanging his head. I thought he was pouty when he came off. I understand his frustration, but I thought he was pouty when he came off last night. Took the long walk, and even, I think some supporters maybe in the front row, I didn't see if they were yelling at him or trying to support him. I couldn't, but it seemed like he had a medium to negative interaction with supporters as he made his final stretch. I couldn't say for sure because I didn't exactly see it, but something happened there. And then he just kind of slumped off to the bench. It wasn't a big deal, but it just doesn't seem like it's going well. And I don't know. I want to hear from you, and then we'll hear what Dino thinks of the attack as well. But for what's your final reaction to that? What we saw last night specifically?
That at this point we know who Enzo Copetti is, and Enzo Copetti's skill set is aerial duels on long balls. Nothing more, nothing less. Whether that long ball is coming from Christian Kalina on a goal kick, Enzo Copetti's strength is to win an aerial duel off of that goal kick. Whether that ball is being swung into the box, Enzo Copetti's strength is to get on the end of a ball that's in the box and try to score a goal. Enzo Copetti is very, very good at that. What he's not good at is playing ticky-tack football. His touch lets him down more times than not. He is unable to be part of the buildup. When he has to make a key pass, a lot of times the pass is weighted improperly, and he's really, really struggling to create a first-time finish. And all of these things combined just point to a hoof it style of play, where at the match on Sunday, I know what Enzo Copetti's strength is, and I just say hoof it into the box to see if he can go get on the end of something. Because let's go look back to Kerwin Vargas's goal against Toronto, right? Everyone says, well, Enzo Copetti, he got an assist on that. Like, I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear about this. Enzo Copetti had no clue where that touch was going.
Correct.
But his strength is to get the touch.
Right.
He's unable to put the ball where he wants it to go, but he's able to get a touch on the ball. And that's worth something when you're playing a hoof it style of offense. So if you want to hoof the ball, Dean, go do it and make sure Enzo's on the end of it.
Like I've been fond of saying, especially this season, good things happen when Kalina kicks it deep. And I do mean that. And I like when Kalina kicks it deep. But there is an ugly side to that, which is like it can't be only good things happening via Kalina kicking it deep, for sure. I think it's a great comment here from one of our great tifos, Rob Barnes, who just says, hey, Enzo's such a polarizing player because people get so emotional about him. So I just like the fact that Rob is saying, look at hard data and wanting more out of our DP number 9. That doesn't make us haters. We just want the best for the club.
That sounds like a lyric to a song, like he's rapping right there.
That doesn't make us haters, man. So here's Dean. This is Dean talking a little bit about all the attacking issues, but he gets in at the end of it. He'll be referencing Enzo specifically, and I think if I remember how I cut this, he does talk about one thing that's been a problem 2 games in a row, or 2 out of the last 3 matches now, is Enzo takes an extra touch in attack, short circuits the whole attack, and then all of a sudden it's a counter going the other way that scores against us. But yeah.
Well, we spoke about, better quality in the final third, and I think right at the start of it, Brex had a really good opportunity to put the ball in behind for Enzo, and we ended up taking an extra touch and never quite got the ball in behind. And 2 minutes later, they go to the other end and switch play and, score a goal. And I think, as I say, goals change games. The second goal, it allows them to defend a little bit deeper and, stop spaces in front of them. And we have to go and chase the game, then put Patrick on and we go 4-4-2 and we concede straight from the corner for the set piece. I think the hardest thing in football is to create and score goals. I think a lot of teams will come here and pat their defence out because we've been so strong here and try and catch us on the counter attack, and that's what it felt like Minnesota came to do today. And so them spaces weren't there as much. All we needed was a little bit more quality on a nut back and through, and we would have broke their high line. We've done it a number of times, but never connected the final pass. There were more than enough opportunities for us to go and create enough and score goals, but we never showed that quality today.
I mean, we got it, John. We got the 4-4-2 that we wanted.
Yeah, we did, and it was just absolutely ruined immediately with that goal. I mean,
subbing on a corner kick. I mean, it's never ends good. It's just always a risk. I know.
It was certainly an aggressive move, right? Not only did he go to the 4-4-2, he went to the 4-4-2 during a corner kick, and let's just be honest, like it totally blew up in Dean Smith's face.
I know, because I watched Patrick run out there, and he ran straight to the end line in the goal and sort of boxed out one of their attackers, and then that guy shoved him, and he's kind of out of position right as the kick comes in. It wasn't necessarily his fault, but it was just like he kind of occupied a space that he wasn't quite ready for, and no one else was occupying it. Don't sub on a corner kick, please. Yeah, Keegan saw the same thing. Keegan McDonald, one of our great commenters, they put the ball right on top of Pat on that corner. They really did.
It's a tough pill to swallow. Sunday is a tough pill to swallow because what a match like that does, Danny, is it just kind of shines a light on the cracks in the foundation. Right, you're trying to build a house here, and Dean Smith is trying to all the different homes that are going up around Charlotte. Right, there's a new house every single day.
Hopefully in walkable neighborhoods. Yeah, shout out Tesho Akindelli. Go back in this channel.
Great friend of the show. All these homes are being built around town, and Dean Smith's trying to build his. And all of a sudden, what happens, Danny, is the inspector comes in. The Mecklenburg County inspector needs to come in and needs to check the work of all the contractors. And he comes by and he takes a look, and he starts to say, you know what? These stairs don't meet code. The way that you've ran this electrical wire, it would do the job, but it might catch your house on fire. Therefore,
how thin is this sheetrock, bro? Like, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Right. So all these, a game like this kind of is one of those moments where somebody's checking your work, right? Where the microscope is on, and it doesn't pass code, and Dean Smith has to go back and come up with a new floor plan. He needs to come up with a new game plan, and he needs to get it right in New York City on Saturday against NYCFC, a game that I'm really looking forward to, by the way, Danny. And remember, this is just one result in a very, very long season, right? Let's just not go ahead and say this game is over, this season's over because of one bad result. Because if Charlotte FC got the result that they wanted on Sunday night, they would have been fourth place in the East.
I know. And we're actually still after like, it's hard. Like that was the worst night of the season for me, but New England definitely gives it a run for its money, sadly. But yeah, the 3-0 loss at home is tough to top. I think it's funny to think that even after that, we're still sitting in a playoff position, as the table goes right now. We have established something. We don't need to panic. We don't need to throw out everything. I mean, our good friend of the show, Bridget McCall, is here, by the way. I did not highlight these comments earlier, but she came in super hot, very upset with Bill. Bring back Valanda. Send Brecht packing already. That was Bridget. Bridget fired off those comments within about 15 seconds of each other, but there's no need necessarily for that yet, right? We're just talking our way through it. I know everyone is upset. I know everyone's mad, but and I'm mad too. We were all mad at the result, but we have to move on. We heard, I put the video out earlier this morning on all our social channels. It's on our shorts here of Ashley Westwood, just sort of like Dean was very resigned and sort of playing the sort of even keel, not too high, not too low. So, and I get that. That's kind of what a manager should do in this situation. Go back and watch the Westwood video that we edited, because like he was like, fuck this. It's unacceptable. We got punished for playing stupid, and you can't play like that. You can't show up like this, like we did tonight in this league ever again. And he definitely like gave a captain's response to the whole thing. But I don't know. I think the lack of attack is just concerning, because yes, we gave up 3 goals, and Dean could call them bad goals, and there was other chances that they could have had where they didn't score. So but if we can't score goals, MLS is a goal scorers league. Like, you're never going to win this league through clean sheets. You're just not. So what I'm really way, way more concerned about is the attacking woes and the one shot on goal, and it came from a center back, and 0 shots on goal in the second half is fucking pathetic. I mean, come on. That I was thinking to myself, like, I used the word pathetic multiple times, like in public, about that performance. I'm like, man, was I being too harsh? Is pathetic just kind of like a really mean-spirited word? And then I was like, no, that was fucking pathetic. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Just wanted to highlight a couple things about this match as well, is that we talked a lot about Teemu Pukki on the pregame show as a player that could potentially come in and score. He didn't start, and he actually came onto the pitch just to get some fitness in, just to work up his fitness with 30 minutes left in a 3-0 match. So it was great to see Teemu Pukki take the pitch as a Norwich City supporter, somebody that I've supported during the last 5 to 7 years for sure. That was interesting to me, but it was Robin Laud, Danny, right? Laud, is that how you pronounce his last name?
I say the PA announcer was calling him Laud, but most of us call him Load. But yeah.
Well, his Finnish international teammate, a goal and 2 assists. Danny, fantastic performance by Load/Laud.
He served that deep ball up to the striker that got pinged in for the first goal for sure.
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful. And I might botch this, but
I didn't even try to say it.
One thing that I was absolutely impressed by and was entertained by is Tani Oluwasi, and his goal was when I want to draw up what a striker needs to do, I show that goal. It was a first time finish. It was one touch, perfectly into the corner, beat Christian Kalina. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic goal. And listen, I always give credit to where it's due, right? If an opposing player scores a great goal at the Fortress, I respect the hell out of it. And what Tanny did, Danny, was he had that one-touch finish, and he pimp walked that goal all the way over to the corner flag. It was a great celebration as well. I'll give him nothing but props. It was a great goal.
Yeah, it was. And the fact that bounced and dinged in off the post just made it that much better, probably, for sure. Insight from our friend of the show, Willie P, who's a very soon to be guest on the show. He will be joining us in less than a week's time, hopefully. He, as I walked out to the concourse after that goal was scored, I always go out for a beer in the 42nd minute, 42, Life of the Universe and everything, read about it. I heard Willie P say that Tani, the Minnesota guy, he had scored 6 goals after the 80th minute as a sub, and this was his first start for Minnesota United, and he bang scored again. So this guy, Minnesota went and found some striker. You know, I don't know if they paid as much for him as we paid for Copetti, but Minnesota went and found a striker. And Minnesota's a team that's like, you know, I think we kind of underestimated them a little bit, for sure. They're a team that has really found a bunker mentality and is doing really well in the West without literally one of the top 5 most talented players in the league, Emmanuel Reynoso. I would put him up there with the Acostas and the Driussis and the Heels. I mean, he's that good with the Puges, for sure. He really, and the Buengas, he's that good, but he's such a head case that he's like back in Argentina having some craziness going on with citizenship and whatnot, and like doesn't want to come back to Minnesota. And so they have a player that good, a DP that they just re-signed for like $8 million a year, I think, like seriously wages. And they said, fuck off, Reynoso. If you don't want to be here, we don't want you here. And they've bunker mentality with the guys who they got. Robin Lode, who I think is also a DP, but making way less than Reynoso, is balling out for them. And they can run out Timu Pukki for some wind sprints for 30 minutes when they're crushing on the road. They can sub in Caden Clark, who's like, I forget how old he is now, but he's like one of the most high-profile bust prospects in like U.S. development recent history. And he like went from the Red Bulls to the Leipzig and completely failed. And now is back in MLS, and he's just running out there for a lark at the end of the game. I mean, they were toying with us. They were playing with us. So
if you'll indulge me, Danny, I'm going to show the goal video.
Please do.
And the reason why is for a couple reasons, right? Is because it's a great goal. And I think doing a recap show without showing a goal, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me.
It's like we're the jumbotron operators of the Fortress, refusing to show the opponent's goals. You know, yeah.
Or the YouTube page where they don't include it in the highlight package.
I didn't even look. I wonder what's on that highlight package. Yeah.
So here's the goal, and this is exactly what we need from Enzo Copetti.
In transition, they get it to the foot of Robin Lod. Finnish midfielder. Plays it ahead. Oluwaseyi waiting on this, able to strike and fires and scores! What a hit by Tani Oluwaseyi. It is Minnesota with the lead on the road, his 3rd goal of the season.
I mean, he knew how good it was. You saw him pimp walk it there into the corner afterwards, that huge smile on his face. And that's what a one-time finish looks like.
First-time finish, yeah.
There's nothing better than a one-touch first-time finish, and that's what you need in professional soccer from your striker, and that's the blueprint for Enzo Copetti. A long ball, a launched ball over the top, in towards the striker, time it right, strike towards the box, or towards the goal, I should say. And that's it, Danny. I mean, for me, it's it. I'm just going to show it one more time, just so people understand. This is what we need to see from Enzo Copetti.
In transition, they get it to the foot of Robin Lod. Finnish midfielder. Plays it ahead. Oluwaseyi waiting on this, able to strike and fires and scores! What a hit by Tani Oluwaseyi. It is Minnesota with the lead on the road, his 3rd goal of the season.
Oluwaseyi, and I'll tell you what, it was a great goal, and that's what we need to see from Enzo Copetti. I'm just going to repeat myself over and over again for those out there.
Keep saying it until Enzo scores a goal, and
so people understand, right? Like, so people just kind of understand what we're talking about, right? This is, yes, we all want Enzo Copetti to score goals. We want him to be this DP number 9 for Charlotte FC. But unless Enzo Copetti is doing things like that, he should be sold, and someone else should come in order to do things like that. Oluwaseyi has 3 goals now on the season. Enzo, who, by the way, no one knows who that player is, and Enzo Copetti has 0.
Well, look at the tremendous friends of the show, what they're saying. Chief Kiefer, the problem is I don't think Enzo could do that even if he tried, but he won't try. And that's what pisses me off. I agree. Keegan, he knows. Keegan watches the game with a keen eye. He says, I agree, but name a player on our squad that can play a ball of that quality. Are you talking about Loads ball, Keegan? Because I think we have a few guys. I mean, I think the ball was amazing. I like as soon as that ball came off his foot, I was standing next to you, John. I was like, offside. I thought for sure he was offside, but then we saw, that Bill actually did keep him on. It was unfortunate, but I think Westwood can play a ball of that quality. I think a few guys can.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that this team has players that can play a ball of that quality, and it's something that we're going to be looking for against New York on Saturday. Is after a match like this, right? You certainly don't want to see the same thing against New York City. You want to maybe head out there and really make an effort to do the things that you did not do in a terrible loss.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's paramount to see attempts. I don't even care if it doesn't come off, right? Just
try. Like
try
Kiefer said, just try. Like the fact that he won't try is what pisses you off. The fact that we had one shot on goal the entire game, none from an attacker and none in the second half, is absolutely atrocious. And
Tuoloma had that shot, by the way. Tuoloma's header, that was pretty sweet. That would have been a nice goal.
We could have been up 1-0. That was a really nice ball from Yere. That should have been a Yere to Tuoloma goal for sure. St. Clair made an insane save. Like Kalina had made a really, really great clutch reflex save minutes before. And then when we were pushing them, we had the chance to score there, and we could have gone up 1-0. Would have goals change games, as the gaffer loves to say, among some other cliches. But I want to set up. Okay, so let's talk about this because we have some questions in the chat. First off, let's keep our wits about us here. Shout out to a new commenter in the stream. McLean Robertson says, result is no reason to freak out. It shows all our flaws. Every mistake that we saw in that game is one we've seen before. And this is the first time that's all happened at once. I definitely agree with that. I like that take, McLean.
Very measured.
Having said that, we're going to keep diving into the misery here because we have been going a little long here. We're approaching, half an hour plus in, but seems like we still got people following along with us. So I want to go into a section of the show here. Let me talk about Dean's reaction to the Minnesota goals, and you'll hear something from him that a couple commenters have touched on. Then we'll show the second goal, and I just want to hear your reaction to what Dean says and what you think of this goal. Because in full disclosure, we were walking back into the stadium from halftime. This goal happened as we were sitting down, sadly, in the second half. But here's Dean first.
They scored a really good goal out of nothing. A ball over the top that we didn't deal with most of the game, to be honest, and a really good finish. But then the biggest thing is the second goal kills the game. He's offside. But, I'll take responsibility for the performance of the players today. When you go away from home and you take the lead, you can just drop off behind the ball then. And they done that, and they wanted to then, draw us on and use the space in behind. And they done that really well for the second goal. Unfortunately, the lad's offside. It's not given, I've complained already about not having lines and stuff to show that it's offside. We saw one today in an FA Cup semi-final, which is given. This one's clearer. But unfortunately, I think that changed the game. I thought that knocked the stuffing out of us. I don't think Sunday night football is going to catch on, if I'm honest. But, we don't get the numbers, and I understand why in the stadium, and it just felt a little bit flatter than normal. But, we made too many bad decisions today.
I mean, continually harping on the offside rules. I do want to see one post-loss Dino presser where he makes no reference to any referee decisions. I think we have not yet to see that. So it would be nice. Well, how do you feel? Do you want to watch the goal and then comment on whether you thought it was offside? Because I really didn't see this. I really haven't seen it. I've been working all day. I decoded the presser and I went to the office. So I haven't really seen too much of this. But let's play that, and then we'll see if we agree with Dino or not. How about that?
And a draw following the 3-2 victory over Toronto last week that saw Patrick Agyemang subbed on to score a game-winning goal in the 85th minute. At what point might Charlotte turn to him? Fragapane the other way, able to square this, and it's 2-0. Oh, a terrific team goal produced once again, and Robin Lod with the finish. The Loons have doubled the lead on the road. Minnesota.
So what I said is Charlotte, they're being made to go inside. So therefore the space is out wide then when Minnesota get it back, and it starts with an amazing ball from Arriaga, and then the rest, they have so much space in those wide areas. It's a lovely ball sideways to Fragapane. He puts the ball into the box, and then Lod is there in the right place to put the ball into the back of the net.
So I mean, I think Dino's saying Kevin Arriaga's offside there, the guy who got that first pass down the stretch.
That's right. Yeah.
Playing a sort of a converted center back wing back position, by the way. Somehow he's up there making
It looked like it was close. It did look like it was close, but I mean, VAR is there, and if it's offside, it probably goes to VAR. They take a look at it and they say it's offside. I mean, the fact that it didn't get called to me probably makes it seem like it was onside. But Dean said it was offside. Maybe he got pictures from somebody.
It was clear to Dean. It was a Stonewall, just like it was a Stonewall penalty in Nashville. You know?
But during the second half, he had a chance to kind of look at some photos of that on one of the tablets, or he got a quick replay of that as he was walking into the press conference. For me, either way, it's a good goal from Minnesota. It's a really nice build-up. It's a really nice passing sequence as well.
It's a beautifully weighted secondary assist that, whether he was offside or not, he did something real nice with the ball once he got it.
Yeah, it was also nice to hear Danny Higginbotham, great guest on the show, a good friend of the show. I got a chance to do a one-on-one interview with him on Thursday of last week. If you haven't heard that episode, I would go check that out. It wasn't truthfully really like a super heavy game preview. It was more so just kind of a big picture discussion about Charlotte FC.
Some good philosophical stuff in there as well.
Yeah, some good tactical discussion as well. That really would be a good episode to listen to when you're done listening to this.
Subscribe to the channel so you never miss stuff like that. Do me a favor. Give me a birthday present. My birthday's in November, but fuck it.
And
you're either way early or way late.
I'll say this one last thing too, and by no means am I blaming Christian Kalina for this goal. The fact that he got a touch on it, I think, is pretty impressive, but it was a soft touch. I mean,
all right. I mean, Kalina played his balls off, man. It's tough to.
I'm just saying that it was a soft touch. The ball went right through his hand.
All right, let's watch it again. I mean, if you're gonna say, first off, also I want to say it's never a good thing when they score and you see this graphic at the bottom of the screen. It's like still showing our lineup for the second half. But yeah, that's savable. That's for sure savable.
The next replay is the one where you can really tell that he got a touch on it, and it just kind of blew through that right hand. It just wasn't a strong right hand. I think Christian Kalina would take a second look at that. I'm not blaming anybody, Bridget. I'm just saying that it was a soft touch. Like, it was a good goal. They scored it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but it's the cutback. That cutback shouldn't be there. Do we really need?
Here we go. Here's the angle I'm talking about. Yeah. Maybe not. There's one final angle. I'm sorry. Here it is, right here.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's got to be saved. You're right. That's got to be saved.
It's a soft touch. His hand's right there.
That's the first time I've seen it, and now I'm pissed. Yeah. God damn it. Now I'm mad. Now I'm angry.
No, there's nothing to be angry about, especially on Kalina. There's nothing he could do. His defense was letting him down all match. In no way, shape, or form am I blaming Christian Kalina for anything. I'm just saying that the right hand was a little soft on that save attempt.
Yeah, I mean, he did save one that should have scored also. I mean, that's what it is. How about our boy Ladd on fire? Get the proper VA repars with the lines, I mean...
Well, even when you have the lines, he mentioned the FA Cup game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
With Coventry and Manchester United, an offside goal that was not called by the on-field referee. It went to the bar. They drew the lines, and people are still bitching about the offside even after you draw the lines.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way to do this. Mm-hmm. I think the right way to do it is to accept what happened on the field and not bitch and moan about it afterwards.
I'm 100% in the camp of let's change the offside rule so that all of your body has to be past the last defender instead of just a fraction. I think that will make soccer a better sport in 2024. But yeah, whatever it is, everyone's playing by the same rules, so you can't really be mad for sure.
Wait, there's one thing that he mentioned real quick. I'm sorry, Danny. Maybe we should get into this now.
There's another thing he mentioned. So you go and then I'll go. I got something to say about what he just said as well.
We talk about Sunday Night Football not catching on.
Yeah.
Okay. There's another clip in there about the atmosphere as well. Why don't we play that and we'll get into that discussion?
There is, but I just want to also say, like, you can't say, "Oh, I wish it was like it was back in England with the VAR lines," but then also say, "Well, I don't think Sunday Night Football is going to catch on." When they play Sunday night games in the Premier League, they play Sunday in the Premier League all the time. It's not like we only play Sunday games in America. Like, So you can't say like, oh, act like you're in some exotic foreign country on one thing, but then you know what I'm saying. But yeah, he did talk a little bit more about the atmosphere. Here's what he had to say.
I think just knowing that it's a Sunday night game, probably not our usual crowd that we normally would have in here. So roll them up a little bit before, get them as mentally prepared as I could. But that's for me to go and review again and see what I did and what maybe I could have done better.
I mean, again, he's being asked directly there. It's not like he's going out of his way to call people out, but he did get, he turned it back on himself at the end and said, I'm talking about what I can do better, but I know that that comment did not sit well with you, John.
Well, it's not that it didn't sit well with me. I just the combination of Sunday Night Football's not going to catch on, and the atmosphere was kind of dead. I mean, regardless of
right.
both of those.
And
things.
why wasn't the game at 2 p.m? yeah. First off, but
I guess this is what this would be I think the most succinct way to make my point. Dean, you're barking up the wrong flagpole here. Okay. Like, go to the president of the club, Joe LeBou, let him know to get in touch with MLS and say, I never want to play a Sunday night game again. Do not schedule us on Sundays.
right.
But as far as getting the supporters involved and talking about the atmosphere and how it wasn't a typical atmosphere like a Saturday night, it was also raining all fucking day. Like, it literally rained from 7 a.m. until 5:45 p.m. before this match. And here's an opportunity for me to tell Dean a little bit of Charlotte culture, right? Dean, you've only been here for a few months now. By the way, Dean, I hope that Myrtle Beach vacation during a match week was really nice for you. I hope you really enjoyed that beach house.
Hey, we're not crapping on anybody's vacations here. Mexico guy, I can't really. Yeah.
You're not making millions of dollars to manage a football club.
God, I wish I was.
So here's a bit of Charlotte culture for you, Dean. When it rains, nobody leaves their home, okay? That's just how this city works, okay? You might be from the Midlands, right? Where it rains 365 days of the year, and people go about their business, and they show up everywhere when it rains. The way that it works in Charlotte is when it rains, people do not leave their homes. And people definitely do not leave their homes to go stand outside in the rain. They leave their homes to go inside somewhere, especially if it's only 50 degrees outside. Yeah. This is what culture is, Dean. And we're so glad to have you here in the United States. And we're so glad to have you here in Charlotte. But there's learning that comes along with that. Right. And here's a nice lesson that you just learned. When it rains, people don't do anything in this city. Okay? It just is what it is.
Which you're 100% right, but I'm kind of like in the camp of like, it's kind of pathetic to let a little rain deter you from what your plans would have been. But I get it, especially when they're outdoors. Bridget gives the ultimate indictment of what Dino just said there. It's such a Larry answer. That was a Larry answer.
I thought of that, that it was a Latanzio type press conference post-match. I just didn't say it. I just was waiting for somebody else to. Now that Bridget has, I'm all in.
Yeah, the floodgates are open.
She opened the door. I'm just walking right through it here at this point. It was a lot of excuse making. There's no doubt about that. And to blame the atmosphere, and to blame the Sunday Night Football, I just think it came off wrong, and it's certainly a regrettable comment for sure.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, that's if Dean knows a lot more about soccer than I do, and I know a lot more about media relations than he does, hopefully, based on a 25-something-year career. So I'm going to say that some of the feedback I would give him is stop talking about the referees. There's nothing you can do. Just stop talking about it. No one wants to hear it. And just always consider kind of something that you tweeted earlier today, John, which it wasn't just Dean. The club eventually did come around to this. I think Papa Joe finally put out like a message that was thanking the people who did show up. It's like, quit talking about the people who weren't there and thank the people who did show up in the rain. There definitely was not 27,000 of us, although that was the official attendance. No chance there was actually 27,000 people there. But let's give a little screen share here to point out that regardless of whether you thought there was a good atmosphere or a bad atmosphere in the Fortress last night, we had the third highest attendance in the league, right only behind the Sounders and Atlanta United. We beat LA Galaxy, one of the most storied clubs in the history of the freaking league. We had about 4 times as many fans in the building as the Colorado Rapids. And the Colorado Rapids are 4th place in the West. They're 4-3-2. They're having a great season, a revival season. Everyone should be going to Rapids games. They can't get 7,500 fucking people there. We had 27,000. So quit bitching and quit complaining. And for all y'all supporters groups who wanted to sit on your hands and be little piss ants because of the fact that you couldn't bring your flags in, look yourselves in the mirror and go back and watch our pregame.
I'm so glad that this has come up because, first of all, you make a really great point there about like, hey, the attendance, whether it was 27,000 or not, it was still a well-attended game. And I did tweet earlier. I said, like, from my viewpoint, based on what I said about the rain, based on the fact that it was a Sunday night, and it was just from the very beginning, you knew it wasn't going to be a big attendance number. I thought that the crowd was exceptional.
Right, exactly.
Like in the middle of the first half,
Charlotte culture. You're like not expecting anyone, and everyone else is like, well, why aren't there 50,000 people here? You know?
Right, and I was like, wow, this is actually better than I thought it was going to be. So like, let's get it. Actually, wow, this is great. This is going to be really fun. And by the way, the rain tapered off, the sun came out for a little bit, and it was a really, really nice Sunday night. And I enjoyed it immensely. And this I made just like a few notes that I needed to make sure that I brought up on tonight's show. And while you do get trophies for making really, really good TV, right? You get trophies for that, but and I want to. This is aimed at everybody, right? Whether you're in the ticketing department. By the way, I appreciate everybody and all the work that the ticketing department does for Charlotte FC and the job that team has done and the club has done as far as getting people in the building and making this club feel big. Right. That's incredible. And we've set the tone for what this club is. Right. But I do have news for you. Right. This is not 6th grade. There is no award for perfect attendance. Right. You do not win a trophy. There's no such thing as an attendance trophy. Right. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Right. Like, honestly, the attendance is meaningful to a footballing environment. Right. It's great. But if you can't enjoy a football match without there being 30,000 people there, then maybe you don't like football.
Right.
Maybe you just like a party, which, by the way, I like a party too. And you can't party every match day. It can't be a Saturday night rager every Saturday. Otherwise, you're going to really just struggle with your life. You can't.
Sometimes you need to show up in the rain and get the job done.
Exactly. And it just like doesn't matter. So for me, I think what I was most disappointed at from a supporters culture point of view, disappointed about, was everybody saying, oh, there's something was off. There wasn't a lot of people there. Mm-hmm. Let me remind you, here you go. J&J, the perfect comment for the perfect time. Gotta admit the energy was off in the stadium, but that's no excuse. One shot on goal from a center back was the issue. Enzo has until summer, I think. J&J, that's a good comment. Let me just talk about that first part about it. Gotta admit the energy was off in the stadium, right?
Gesslin was telling us that too, right?
None of that matters at all. It just doesn't. The only people that mattered to are the people that are keeping score about attendance numbers, people who are making money off this club, and supporters groups who look in the mirror and say the atmosphere at Bank of America Stadium on a Charlotte FC match day represents me and who I am as a person. It makes me feel good about myself. I don't give a fuck if there's literally, I don't care if there's not one other person in that stadium besides me.
I know. Exactly. Me either. Yeah, exactly. I will be the only one there.
I can sit there. I can watch the match and I can enjoy it. And if that happens, and if there's an off night, you don't have to do this whole fucking referendum about what's going on. Why is the vibe off? Why aren't people showing up? What do we have to do? Like, truthfully, you don't win a trophy for attendance. You win a trophy for being able to get a win against Minnesota United at home on a Sunday night at 6:00.
Yeah.
So
you're right. You got to win. You and maybe have a shot on goal. You know, fuck it. You know, why not? Let's try it. See what happens.
I think it's just the mentality is all wrong. I think the mentality right now is about the party, is about attendance, and about things that don't matter. And I think
Right, because we've always bragged about our look at our attendance, and it is kind of a lame thing to hang your hat on. Obviously, in the end, for sure, I get it. I mean, it's like a bonus. It's like a nice thing to have, but it shouldn't be the main thing that you brag about.
Well, and I think the nail in the coffin for this take is, if you suck, no one's going to show up anyway.
Right.
Like at some point, this attendance is going to dwindle off, and if you keep losing by 3 goals at home next year at this time, there's going to be maybe 10,000 people in there, 12,000 people in there. And then all of a sudden, half the stadium is going to be the other NFL team. Sorry, that's the wrong franchise.
We'll never get that bad. We'll never get truly that bad, I hope. But, who knows? I don't want to make too much of it, Danny. It is what it is. I'm glad we had the conversation, but let's kind of hang our hat on the club and the on-field play, not what's happening in the stands. Just show up, and that's where it needs to get better. That's where it needs to get better. It needs to get better with the scoring chances. And, we talked about creating chances, and we have talked about, it's fine that we're missing chances because at least we're getting chances. Well, we got no chances this last time, and that was a big problem for sure. I like what Chief Kiefer is saying here. It starts with winning. Everything starts with winning. And I don't care if there's 2,000 fans in the stadium. If we're winning 3-0, that's what's important. I totally agree about that. McLean Robertson chimes in. If that Bill goal happens, which would have been nice, it was an insane save to prevent it. No one talks about atmosphere or attendance being off. You agree with that? If we're up 1-0 and it's a fight, do you think it's a totally different post game? Even if we end up losing 2-1 or something like that, at least if we had some fight?
Yeah, I totally agree with that no one talks about the attendance or atmosphere being off if Charlotte FC wins, because if they win and score goals, the atmosphere is electric because there was a lot of people there.
Yeah, there was a lot of people there for sure. So I want to play something. It took me a second to get this ready. I had to wait for some processing, so I appreciate you filling some time. But let's hear from the captain. Let's hear from the captain because he had some wonderful things to say, and he took a very different tone than Dino about the result and the atmosphere. So let's hear what he has to say as we start to get into the final section of this great show that so many of you have been watching live. We cannot appreciate and thank you enough. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you
for
thank you, Danny.
We're always trying to make Charlotte FC a more fun club to follow, and everybody that's watching helps serve in that mission. But here's the captain.
We can't play like that in this league. We can get punished. We've had a reality check today, and it's not been like this season, so it's really disappointing. We're working hard, we're getting there, but tonight was it's unacceptable. We know we need to be better. There was too many individually. All 11 of us were made a mistake at some stage, and that can't happen in this league. So we got punished. The manager said it in there. It did feel flat. So that's down to us as individuals. We can't rely on the fans to. They do their job week in, week out. We need to do ours as well. And tonight was unlike us tonight. That wasn't the Charlotte what we've seen this season. So we'll be in tomorrow. We'll have a look at the game. The gaff report was right, and it's time to fix it next week.
Time to fix it next week when the lights go down in the city. What can I say?
You always pick fire tracks for those.
Got to have some journey in there for sure. Yeah.
When you subscribe to the YouTube page, I think one of the best parts about the YouTube page is Danny has done a tremendous job with the YouTube shorts that publish on our page.
You showed me the way. You said, Danny, start putting some shorts, and I was like, yes, I will.
Yeah, yes, and you've done a fantastic job with that. So that's assured, and I love to see him on the show as well, bringing those shorts to the show. Yeah. And honestly, Ashley Westwood made me feel better about the loss than the manager did, which is fine. I don't need anybody.
That's why we ended on that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I've got this pet peeve that's starting to happen with soccer, only because I feel like it's kind of like the culture of the game, and it's why I brought up the point about the atmosphere and thanking the fans that showed up. Right, the next step of thanking the fans is apologizing.
Right. I know you always want your apology for sure.
I like when they apologize. I think it's a nice thing to do. I mean, it takes a real man to apologize, Danny. And I've if I'm just saying, hey, I'm sorry to the fans for the performance tonight, I'm like, okay, no problem. All right. You made the apology.
I mean, not to turn a light moment somber, but think about when we all fell in love as a fan base with Anton Walks. It was when he had that horrible game and came out that very night and said, I apologize to the fans, said it's not going to happen again. We never get that from anybody on this club anymore. We get Ashley Westwood came close. He called it unacceptable, but I like, frame it in terms of an apology, God damn it, because we freaking deserve it for sure.
Well, I'm really glad that Anton Walks came up on tonight's show, Dan. That was a great pool, and that was something that I love to do. Is think back on Anton's time with the club and always remember him as a great Charlotte FC player. And yeah, that moment was special, right? Where he did take the microphone and he showed his true colors as a football player. And Luke knows from the Queen City Soccer Show. He knows I'm still waiting for Jose's apologies for the Columbus Crew loss last season in the Next Pro playoffs and for getting knocked out of the Open Cup by the South Carolina Heat. I'm still waiting on my apologies for those two matches.
Yeah, that was such a great South Sea Heat United Columbia YMCA. So that was a funny moment on Sunday at the HopFly pregame party. John came in. If you watched the pregame show, he got a lot of well-earned love for his dapper, proper English rainy football day outfit. Dress shirt, dress pants, and a bowler cap. And Luke goes, "Oh, you're pulling a Jose Tavares, huh?" And John goes, "No, this is a fucking bowler cap. This is not a Jose Tavares hat." Until he apologizes. So funny. That was so freaking funny.
I appreciate you, Luke. It's always good to see you. Thanks for coming to HopFly. Thanks everybody for coming.
Yes,
to
thank
HopFly
you, Luke,
for the pregame show.
Hope you had a good night, if you know what I'm talking about, for sure.
And the pregame.
So while I was in Mexico, I was seeing Widespread Panic, and they played the song that I had a moment flashback to Charlotte because they played the song Pigeons. Will we ever know the truth? Washing windows when there's pigeons on the roof, so let's go away. Do we keep our unbeaten streak against NYCFC? Joseph Doak wonders. Chief Kiefer says, or else we got to do it. At New York City, they've been looking pretty good. Their defense has been rock solid since we beat them up a little bit week one. And we look at the table, and New York City, they're near the top of the East, and they're doing better than I thought they would be. They're right above us. In fact, they're in 8th and we're in 9th. Same points. They have a better goal differential, and they've won 2 in a row. Considering
Adilson Milanda declared himself fit before this match against Minnesota, I'd like to think he'll be back in the lineup next week at NYCFC, which is a really, really good thing for this squad on the road, Danny.
The veteran leader of the back line.
Yeah, for sure. So absolutely. Somehow, that did happen. But if I'm just honestly thinking about it from an unbiased point of view, is if I'm NYCFC, I do not want to play Charlotte after that letdown on a Sunday night, right? Because now you have a little bit of extra motivation if you're Charlotte to go up there and get the job done and get a win and come back to Charlotte for what is a really, really busy month of May here with home matches.
I mean, a road win. Who would have thought, right? Can we get a road win for Charlotte FC? It would be real nice.
Yeah, it would.
I think we can do it. We're going to be talking about it all week. We'll have some type of special guest rolling in from the Apple crew.
Yeah, we
have
will.
A couple other things planned.
I wonder who's calling the game this weekend. Yeah, I wonder who's calling the game because one of the two probably is joining us.
Carol Walton just blew my mind here at the end of the episode with a beautiful Widespread Panic reference. I like coconuts too. I wish they never play it anymore. Unfortunately, it's such an old song. They never do it. But yeah, with her Georgia roots, she knows some Panic. That's beautiful, Carol. I love you.
Just declared his love on the show. I love when that happens organically. It's nothing but love on the show.
I got a lot of love to give.
That's right. I know you do. And it's been a fantastic show, Danny. It's been awesome chatting with you tonight. I'm so glad to do it. And
did we heal? Did we heal?
I feel good. Yeah. I didn't feel bad after the loss. I felt so good because we had such a great time on Sunday. It was truly a South End Sunday fun day. When we got Uptown is when things went wrong. South End was great.
Yeah.
HopFly was absolutely lit. Mint City Music.
Shout out Will.
Will was absolutely fantastic DJing the party on Sunday at HopFly. When that garage door opened at the front of HopFly and we were doing the show live on the couch and all of a sudden the cool breeze came into the brewery and then Will started up with his playlist, I was like, I don't care what happens for the rest of the day. This is an absolute vibe at HopFly. And we're going to have
good because the rest of the day went horrible.
Yeah. And we're going to have a watch party, an NYCFC watch party on Saturday at HopFly. We'll have a pregame show for that as well. So a lot of content coming this week for Charlotte Soccer Show. JJ, good comment here. Duck hunt dog better get some pigeons this weekend.
The tifo was so good. It was good.
Yeah, well, it was a good tifos, and you hate to tifo. You hate to see when a tifo like that leads to a loss because you want to remember it as a winning tifo. Kind of like that Jalen Lindsay match. That tifo that night.
I can't even do it, but yeah, he had the awesome thing.
Ken and Chief Kiefer asked a great question. We're going to discuss this later on Charlotte Soccer Show this week. Yeah. Can Enzo Copetti open his account and score a goal this season for Charlotte FC? Yeah. That's coming up later this week.
Evergreen topic. We should have cut ourselves saying that one time and just like roll the tape every time if we would have known for sure. I'm going to say this. If we get a penalty called and Enzo gets the ball and he looks over at Kerwin Vargas, what do you think happens? Against NYC.
Oh man, it's a pleasure to see you, Danny. Thanks so much for doing the show. Thanks so much for getting these clips done. Thanks for doing Decoding the Presser. Make sure you watch Decoding the Presser if you haven't seen that. It's on our YouTube page. You can go back and watch the pregame show as well. We had a great time. We had Danny Brackett on the show from the Full-Time Roundup podcast. We had the Carolina Reaper on the show as well.
Learned a lot from the Reaper.
It was really good to see him. Who else do we have? Do we have a special? Do we
That's
have a
it.
third guest?
That's
okay.
it.
Yeah. It was an awesome time. And
Colonel Kurtz, but
we'll have more special guests coming this week on Charlotte Soccer Show. If you're listening to the podcast, appreciate y'all listening on the podcast. Give us a rating, give us a review, drop a comment, tell people why they should subscribe to Charlotte Soccer Show, and
create a fake account and subscribe.
I appreciate everybody. And remember, listen, this is soccer. This is not life or death. We go again. This club is going to play on Saturday. And if they don't get a result on Saturday, guess what? They're going to be playing the next week after that. It's going to be a really busy run of fixtures for Charlotte FC over the next month and a half. And who knows what could happen. This is MLS. So, Danny Brams, until next time.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4 the crown, baby.
Cheers.